The night of my CEO's party was supposed to be a celebration, a well-earned reward after months of nonstop hard work. I'd given everything I had to secure a major deal for the company. So when the invitation to his mansion arrived, I saw it as a proof that my dedication had finally been recognized. As Sarah, my wife, and I walked inside, I couldn't stop feeling proud. She looked stunning in her navy blue dress, her smile glowing beneath the sparkling crystal chandeliers that illuminated the magnificent hall. The room was alive with laughter, the gentle clink of glasses, and the lively conversations of people surrounded by wealth and influence. With her standing beside me, I truly felt like I belonged in that dazzling world. As the evening went on, my boss introduced me to several important clients. One of them was a man named Khalid. He carried himself with an overwhelming presence that caused others to step back, not because they admired him, but because they felt uneasy. His wealth served as his shield, his arrogance as his greatest weapon, and everyone around him simply learned to accept both. He believed people valued him because of what his money could purchase. The moment his eyes moved from me to Sarah, a knot formed deep inside my chest. His stare lingered far too long, and the smug grin spreading across his face made my stomach twist with discomfort. We were standing together in a circle of executives, exchanging polite but meaningless conversation, when he did something I will never forget. With shocking confidence that stunned everyone, he pointed directly at Sarah and declared, loud enough for the entire room to hear, "She's coming with me." The laughter and casual chatter instantly faded, replaced by a heavy, unbearable silence. His words were not spoken carelessly. They were deliberate. A calculated challenge, a cruel insult aimed not only at Sarah, but at me as well. In that single moment, my dignity, my marriage, and my career were all placed under attack. In front of the people who mattered most in my life, Sarah's shocked expression reflected exactly how I felt. My blood burned with anger, and my fists clenched tightly at my sides. Even so, I forced myself to stay calm. This was not the place for a reckless reaction. The CEO let out a tense laugh, claiming Khalid was only joking, but the look in his eyes told a different story. Those words were never meant as a joke. They were a bold display of dominance, a calculated move to humiliate me and claim superiority. I quietly led Sarah away, burying my anger before it completely took over. On the outside, I looked calm and in control, but inside, my rage raged like a storm with no escape. That night, sleep never found me. I relived the moment over and over, his finger pointing at me, the crushing humiliation, and the quiet whispers surrounding us. He had tried to take away my dignity, and in that moment, I realized that walking away was never an option. Once respect is taken, it must be earned back. Reclaimed. The next morning, Sarah sat beside me, her hand gently resting on mine. Her voice was soft but steady. "You can't just let this go." She was right. I promised her that I wouldn't. But instead of letting anger control me, I chose patience. If Khalid believed his money made him untouchable, I would remind him that true power comes from somewhere else. Over the following week, I quietly gathered information. What I uncovered brought a small smile to my face. Khalid's business ventures were connected to the very project I had helped create. Without me, his route into my CEO's trusted circle would fall apart. He had no idea how fragile his position really was or how close I stood to the one thing that could bring everything crashing down. The perfect opportunity arrived during a follow-up meeting. The conference room buzzed with anticipation as everyone shared their updates. Khalid sat across the table, wearing the same smug expression, completely convinced that nothing could touch him. When my turn came, I spoke with calm confidence, explaining our progress before revealing a critical discovery, a flaw that put the entire project's future at risk. Only I had the ability to fix it, and everyone in the room knew that. I slowly turned my eyes toward Khalid. My words were measured and deliberate. I spoke with calm confidence. Respect is the foundation of trust, and without it, no deal can ever survive. The silence that followed felt overwhelming. His face lost all color, and for the first time the confidence behind his arrogance began to crack. The CEO's expression turned cold as he realized exactly what had happened, and the atmosphere in the room completely changed. Khaled's careless pride had backfired, and the damage to his reputation was impossible to ignore. Later that evening, he came to me alone. The arrogance had vanished. His voice trembled, and his apology sounded empty and desperate, but I had no use for his words. I simply turned around and walked away, leaving him alone with the heavy silence of his own defeat. When I returned home, Sarah searched my face for answers. I told her everything that had happened, and the relief that spread across her face meant more to me than any applause ever could. For her, it was never about revenge. It was about knowing I had stood up for her, stood up for us, without sinking to his level. She gently squeezed my hand and whispered, "That's the man I married." From that moment on, Khaled kept his distance. His swagger faded, his influence weakened, and he never dared challenge me again. Meanwhile, my position within the company continued to grow stronger. The CEO respected that I had handled the situation with wisdom instead of violence, with strategy rather than anger. I learned something important that night. Revenge doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, leaving wounds far deeper than any shout ever could. Khaled discovered what money can never buy: dignity, respect, and certainly not my wife. That was the night he finally understood his limits, and the night I reclaimed my pride.